and we agree with the National Treasury on that. Day-to-day accounting, the monthly reconciliation is your responsibility as a CEO and the persons that you have assigned that responsibility to. So this committee is not going to accept any blame directed to the National Treasury, especially where we are seeing the only effort that was made is dated 4th of March 2024.
Chair, I want to add on to what you're saying. Excellency Governor, how come every time you receive money from Treasury through IFMIS, the money comes? But when you need to do reconciliation through the IFMIS the system doesn't work. I find that difficult to accept.
Okay, before you respond, Senator Sifuna.
Governor, there is a very critical question that the chair asked you on why you continue to pay the people responsible for this shoddy work a salary. And your response was very interesting, that because they are working. And you have told us a story of how you got in and you changed the personnel there, maybe in recognition of the deficiencies in their capacity. Now, in that same letter, the letter of 4th March 2024, there is an admission that even the current person that you're saying is working well requires certain training from the National Treasury. If you look at the third paragraph there, you are requesting Treasury to facilitate training of our officers carrying out transactions through the IFMIS system. Isn't that an admission, Governor, that even after all those changes you've made, you still feel that there are capacity challenges in that department?
Governor, let's get your response.
Chair, on the issue of training is a continued exercise. And on this issue, look at the paragraph 2. I said the purpose of this letter is to request you to assign a technical officer to help in cleaning up the IFMIS system to allow us to proceed with the update of ledgers. Remember also, Chair, we are dealing with statements that are from the former governor or the former regime. So I'm just trying to answer a question that I have now on the table. So on the issue of, I really want to be honest, this is an issue that even you at your level, we need to look at this IFMIS issue. Because there's nothing, really, to be honest with you, these numbers will add up if the IFMIS was working properly. If we want us to, as Ledama was suggesting, that we provide a supporting schedule, we have those supporting schedules. And we have not shy away from bringing what this Honorable Senate needs to see. So that is my answer as far as this IFMIS is concerned. Maybe Treasury might write messages, but if you ask any governor, they will tell you that there is a problem with IFMIS, because we try to reconcile with our numbers, and even the Auditor General will agree with me that it's next to impossible. And let me just say this, because there is something that
Governor, we have the benefit of looking at the reports of 46 other counties, including county assemblies, including funds. And in many instances, IFMIS is working. And so you cannot convince us that it is near impossible to get IFMIS to work. And let me illustrate. Look at the line, look at the row on fuel, oil, and lubricants. You have spent 246 million. In IFMIS, there is 0. Are you trying to tell me that those are historical data issues where you have spent 246 million on financial statements? The Auditor General says they are supporting schedules. In the, I'm just referring to the table there.
Page 3.
On page 3, there's a row on fuel, oil, and lubricants. Governor, are you there? Yes, sir. So let's just take that as an illustration, because you do not want to deal with the problem, and the problem is your people. The problem is not Treasury and not IFMIS. So under fuel, oil, and lubricants, Auditor General, the 246 million, can you assure this Senate that the supporting schedules tie to the 246 million? The supporting schedules.
Chair, the supporting schedules they agreed with the figures in the financial statement.
Good.
But
yes,
the source of that information was not from IFMIS. These are figures which are worked outside IFMIS, because IFMIS is so in need.
Auditor, help us. When you talk of supporting schedules, if it's fuel, oil, and lubricants, purchase of fuel, so you will be dealing with receipts and original accountability documents, isn't it?
Yes.
Or are you looking at an Excel spreadsheet? When you talk of supporting schedules, is it?
Ever paid because that's what I want the auditor to tell us. Was it receipt of delivery or if it was entered by the director of IFMIS? But at least if it was actually paid, it would be there on IFMIS.
Auditor General?
Chair, the financial statements are prepared under cash accounting, and every transaction is at an actual transaction. There's a movement of cash, though there was a payment. There is a payment of 246.
So it was paid outside IFMIS?
Outside IFMIS.
Governor, the problem we have with you is that you're not whipping your teeth. We understand the history and background and the fact that you are not the governor then. But what we do not accept is the very, the very hands-off approach or trying to excuse people who are being paid using public resources. Maybe let's hear from Senator Omtata, then we can agree on how to proceed.
I think, Chair, we are dealing with a classic case of where procurement is voided and then money is diverted. Yes. Because there's no way it cannot be in the IFMIS. Where is the approval by the Auditor General? By the Controller of Budget. It goes into the IFMIS. So the procurement, if it was a valid procurement, then it would have been done within the IFMIS process. But I think we have a case whereby certain procurements were voided, and then the money was used on unbudgeted expenditure. Yes. And I think what we should be asking the governor is how many procurements were voided during the period under review. And you might find that those procurements tally with the amount of money, the mismatch in the IFMIS system. Because once the money is voided, then to spend outside the IFMIS, maybe they are not smart enough to go and cross-check what the IFMIS was providing for, and this is why the problem is. So, Chair, I think you need to ask the Auditor General if they looked at the question of voiding in the IFMIS system, how many procurements were voided, and where did that money for the voided procurement go? Did it remain in the county revenue account, or was it spent? And I'm suspecting that this is the money that was spent, because you see a lot of 0000 here. These are procurements that were done without prior approval of the control of budget. They were just done outside they're totally outside the law. And that's why then when you go back to Article 229, Clause 6, You are auditing these people for lawfulness and value for money. You don't just audit for value for money. You must first of all audit and confirm that the procurement was lawful. Then now see whether there was value for money. But if you only ask audit for value for money, you end up with this kind of situation, whereby procurements are being made outside the law, and you are validating them by saying all we need. The only problem you have is balancing the figures. The problem is bigger. The problem is violation of the law. The Auditor General, the control of budget did not approve these procurements. That's why they are not in the IFMIS.
Okay. So, Senator Methu.
Honorable Chair, I find the statement that has been made by Senator Okoiti contradictory to what the Auditor General is saying. Because what I've heard from the Auditor General is that from the physical receipts, you can confirm that 246 million was used on oil and lubricants, nothing else. You know what Senator Okoiti is saying, that this money could be used to have bought something else.
Point of order, Chair.
Let's allow him to. Let's just allow him to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finish. Okay.
Senator Methu.
There's a reason why I was actually going to give you information. That's not what he said.
No. Let's allow Senator Methu to conclude.
Well, he's here. You confirm whether that is what he said or not. But the more substantive question, which I am sure and it must be addressed, why is it then very difficult to post these expenditures on the IFMIS, and does this response of the county that the issues that made them not post are historical? There's something that they said to be the reason. There are technical errors that have built over time. That is the reason why these 246 cannot appear on the IFMIS. Does that response of the county answer to this question of why this money has not been posted on the IFMIS?
No, Chair, because...
No, just leave it there. I wanted you to confirm that this response cannot stand to be the response of why this money has not been posted. I am canvassing around the point, Honorable Chair, that there is something and somebody in Narok that is not that is being paid for doing nothing, or that is not is not doing what he's supposed to. Why he has, he is not earning for what he is supposed to be doing. Out of these 250, they have posted maybe like 150, so the variance is 100. But looking at all these figures, the variances are huge balances. So
I think the general conversation here, both parties tend to agree that there is a problem. Where we are disagreeing is on how to solve the problem. Your approach of writing a letter to Treasury is not sufficient, and it is not leadership. We must define more measurable interventions. We cannot say that a letter was written and then the matter is resolved. Because even if it requires invocation of Article 2265, we can call the persons who had responsibility at that point in time. But we need very clear, actionable, measurable interventions over and above this letter. I think that's how we are going to get a solution here.
It's basically arriving at a conclusion that the problem is of a technical nature. The problem is of a criminal nature. Yes. There's a criminal mind in the county government that is diverting funds, and through the diversion we are likely not to get proper accountability. So to me it is a law enforcement issue that I think the letter that was written already locks out a lot of things. It says we have just incapacity, it's splitting incapacity. Yes. Yet me what I'm seeing is sabotage. Somebody is sabotaging the county government of Narok, is sabotaging the people of Narok, and is and you see, like these receipts, look at where the receipts are coming from, fueling petrol stations. These are receipts you can manufacture, you see. So we must get this matter down, and this is another matter that I think should be handled by law enforcement to find out where this money went and why it was misused, because for me it's criminal conduct. It's not technical incapacity. If anything, he's very smart, he knows what the technical issues are.
Now, members, we must make progress. Governor, we agree on the problem. We disagree on the solution. You have heard what the Senate has said. We have even asked whether you've appointed someone to do this job. And you have seen that we are frustrated that the person you have employed is not doing the job. And ultimately, as a CEO, you take responsibility. Can you reframe or restate what you're going to do to solve this problem? Because whereas the Auditor General says they have seen receipts, but does a controller of budget have visibility over that spending if it is outside IFMIS? Maybe let's listen to Nancy, Controller of Budget.
Thank you, Chair. From the Controller of Budget, I want to state that IFMIS works. We use IFMIS and we always get an unqualified opinion on our financial statement. So for any system, garbage in, it's garbage out. So I don't know if it's a capacity issue. And then at Controller of Budget, we receive the IB extract to support the exchequer request. Now after that, now the county goes to spend. So the actual payment is what now we do not have the viewer rights like through IFMIS. If you have the viewer rights through IFMIS, you can be able to monitor whether what was approved is what was actually paid. So, and then that can also be supported by the bank statement and also the expenditure returns from the previous exchequer, the grant of credit that was granted before now the other exchequer is issued. Thank you, Chair.
From the EACC's perspective, I think the EACC has done some guidance on this matter.
Before EACC comes in, let me just write down on what the Controller of Budget has done. It is prudent for us to note that IFMIS only works when counties are receiving their money. But when they are expending their money, it does not work. That is issue number one. And this issue of Narok, I'm not going to lie to you. Even Narok themselves, they have attempted to explain why they are diverting funds. They have written to the Controller of Budget and they said, whereas we have received money through a genuine error of commission, every attempt has been made to ensure we spend the cash flows within strict guidelines as envisioned by Section 201D of the Constitution, and as we shall be demonstrating the same through our monthly returns. They are supposed to not touch that money, requisition that money again. Because when you requisition money twice. So the issue of this is that we will never solve this problem of IFMIS not showing anything, yet the financial statement are showing, because when they requisition money, and they requisition money twice, using the same cash requisition, the credit they are given, they don't end up paying what is in IFMIS. They pay other things which are not going to be in IFMIS.
Okay. I think that's just to reinforce what the Controller of Budget is saying.
Is that what she's saying is true, and they have attempted, but they are diverting the money. This is an issue of integrity. It's not an issue of saying it's an error of commission. No, it's an issue of integrity. You requisition money, you say you're going to pay X, Y, and Z, you pay something else. Yes. It's that simple. And that is the reason why, Mr. Chairman, the county government could not provide the documents for the Auditor General to review and make sense of these adjustments. So unless those documents are provided, for us to be able to look at this, it is still going to be the same story over and over again.
Okay, EACC, and let's allow EACC to...
Chair, before EACC comes, what Honorable Lekina is saying, we also must have commercial bank statements where that money was paid to, for you to know where it went.
Okay.
Otherwise, like this, there's nothing.
EACC?
Thank you, Chair. You had asked whether we've carried out a system review in Narok County, which I said we did in 2019. And I'm sorry I didn't manage to carry a copy of that report, but I've asked George to share the soft copy. If you check in that report, you will find that one of the findings was a failure to use IFMIS. Specifically, the issue was that the accounting officers, the chief officers in the various departments, have no access to IFMIS. At that time, they had no access to IFMIS at all. So what would happen is that when there is a requisition to pay something, the chief officers in the various departments would just sign the AIE authorization to expend on the payment voucher manually. The access to IFMIS was only in the finance department. So that was a challenge. So we recommended that the chief officers in the various departments have to be brought into IFMIS by means of the user, wherever, and the rights for the various operations in IFMIS. That was the recommendation. And the other issue was on the issue of the requisitions from the National Treasury in the control of budget. You would find money is requisitioned, drawn from the CRF into the operational accounts in the CBK, which are linked into IFMIS. However, that money was not being spent there. It was being transferred in large sums to the commercial banks. And that is where the money would be spent outside IFMIS at that time in 2019. Thank you, Chair.
At that time in 2019, I think we might need to look at that report and ask ourselves whether we need to do an inquiry on it. CEC Finance, this is your job. It is your job in the PFM Act, regulations, all those directors of IFMIS report to you. What are you doing to solve this problem before we get the commitment of the CEO?
Chairman, the governor stated that when we came in, the old guys...
Leave alone the background. Tell us what you are doing as a CEC Finance.
Currently, we are on it. We are working on IFMIS, especially now that we have issues. Let me start from there. We still have issues with IFMIS. Though we are not saying IFMIS is not working. IFMIS is not working, but it has problem like any other system. But we are not doing any payment outside IFMIS at the moment. That one I can guarantee. We are not doing any payment outside IFMIS. Though IFMIS has issues and has problems, even on payments, even on requisitions, we have instances that we go a day without necessarily doing anything simply because IFMIS system is not in place or is not working or has hiccups. But for the question before the committee today, we have rectified ourselves currently what we are doing, and there is nothing that is being done outside IFMIS.
CEC, we are dealing with data integrity issues. That is what I want you to address yourself to. What measures have you put in place to resolve the data integrity issues from recurring? This letter to Treasury is to deal with historical. Now, recurring data integrity issues, because there's evidence that you are still not using IFMIS before us. That's what I want you to confine yourself to.
Chairman, I said we are using IFMIS currently and we are not paying anything outside IFMIS, which now creates problems later. If you have any payment that is done outside IFMIS, that is what brings somehow problems. We want again to come and rectify. But currently, supporting schedules that we prepare monthly, again is what is in IFMIS, do agree.
Did you listen to ESCC when they said that during the assessment, the chief officers did not have access to IFMIS, so they would just sign AIE forms? Has that changed, or that is still the practice?
It has changed since we came in. I have authorized all chief officers to be AIE holders, and that is what is said currently on IFMIS.
Do they have access to IFMIS?
They do.
Do they have training on how to use IFMIS?
Yes, Chairman, there is a first training.
Those are the interventions I was asking you about, not the story of where the world began.
Chair, I just want clarity from the CC Finance. Because of what ESCC has said, do all the CEOs have access to IFMIS, or is IFMIS only in the CC's office? Are they the ones who use it for requisition? Hypothetically, if there is any procurement done, are they the ones who carry out the entire processes, so that when it comes to you, you'll only do what is supposed to be done by you, but not you entering all the data?
Chairman, I can confirm that all CCs, all CEOs rather, are AIE holders on IFMIS, and they can access IFMIS. And we can provide evidence to that, and even IFMIS director at the Treasury can be able to confirm that.
Chair, maybe in 2022-2023, the audit is complete. Is this issue recurring? Number one, to COB, you said cabbage in, cabbage out. So what is fit in the system is what comes out. When you see such variance of such huge amounts, is it coincidence? Because I've seen integrated financial management information systems, and I saw the auditor report around 2 years ago. The integrity of IFMIS is quite high. So when there is such a variance, would it lead to financial impropriety or voiding payments? Maybe, Chair, the OAG and
the brief response.
Chair, as I said earlier, the issue of variances between financial statements and IFMIS is recurring even in 2022 and even in 2023.
So financial year, it recurs in 22-23.
Yes.
So which is the current audit that just concluded.
Yes.
So this problem, despite, Chair, and you need to note this, despite Governor hiring a new director of IFMIS, this issue can say something.
It's possible that the transactions might have been voided after approval, but we need to substantiate that when we have the expenditure returns, the bank statement, to be able to actually tell what was approved is what was actually paid.
Senator and Senators, maybe to allow us to proceed, if you had a nanny with a bad record of looking after children at your neighbors, you will not employ that nanny. If you've got an accountant who's been getting adverse opinions and disclaimers, why should they continue running public affairs? And I think that's where we must crack the whip. And it goes back to the earlier conversation that these governors appeared here as a CEO, and many governors come here just to shield their officers. We are going to expose the officers who are earning a salary without rendering value. And one of those is your director of IFMIS. The other one is your head of accounting. The other one is your CC finance. The other one is your chief officer finance. And we'll be bringing a resolution to the House.
Move to education.
Yes, we will soon be resolving as Senate that if you are having adverse opinions, then you should not be allowed to touch public resources. You would rather go and do something else and not be in county governments.
Yeah.
Senator Ledama.
There's a very important thing that the Controller of Budget has kept on asking. And I think it would be really helpful for the people of Narok and all the other 46 counties if this committee can actually give that direction. That whatever is requisition, the county government sent in an expenditure report to show that whatever was approved is what was paid for. Is that what you're asking? And I think that is a very important thing, Mr. Chairman. This committee must give directions that whatever is requisition is what is paid for. Because what is happening is the diversion of money. And Narok is a problem. When it comes to diversion of money, they divert money every requisition, not even any single requisition. There are times where they will even say they are paying KEMSA, the requisition 5 payment for KEMSA, they pay KEMSA only 1 payment. Mm-hmm. That is why in the last committee of
yes, and I was there. It was my statement.
Yes, in your statement.
Yes.
We literally say that there will be no more supplies of drugs to counties if they don't pay their bills. So, Mr. Chairman, if you could yield to the Controller of Budget request, it will really solve a lot of these problems.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Dulo.
I think Controller of Budget went ahead and said it's hard for them to really. Yeah. So I think as a committee, maybe we need to see how we can be able to seal that loophole. I don't know how. But I think she has...
Chair, we need a very serious conversation between two entities. I think three entities. The COB, the committee. Oh, sorry, I thought you were
Okay, let's allow Senator Dulo to finish. Okay, Senator Dulo, wind up your submission, then you allow Senator Gataya. He's been quiet throughout.
Chair, now he has even distorted my thoughts. But my concern is, how do we ensure that what has been approved is what has been paid? And I think this problem is not only Narok, it's in all the counties, and I'll include also Isiolo. So something needs to be done. Thank you.
Fine. Members, let Senator Gataya make the final point on this, because we are still on issue number one. Senator Gataya.
Ndura just stated. Chair, we have had these things appearing before us for quite some time. So many counties with voiding a lot of things that we can't understand. I think we need to make a policy through the committee that so that we can unravel the mystery behind all these transactions, because there is a lot of history that is not even being captured in what we're interrogating. It's a statement, Honorable Chair, that we are supposed to state categorically as a committee and stamp authority over it.
Okay, we will work very closely with the Office of the Control of Budget to find whether the effect would be through regulation or through statute for that, because I am aware that the Control of Budget at some point wrote to counties to get access to view-only access to bank accounts, and the Council of Governors wrote a very condescending letter back to the Control of Budget. I don't think it should be a matter of institutions competing. It's supposed to be institutions working together to find a solution. So on this, we'll support the Control of Budget for the necessary amendments in regulation to allow the expenditure returns prior to new requisitions. I think that that could solve the problem.
Sure, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair,
finally, there is a proposal by COB. There is a proposal by Senator Mohammed Chute to allow COB access bank statements of county entities. Will
that's the one I was saying. The Control of Budget wrote to county governments, but county governments fought back. So if we can put it in statute or regulations, it will be useful. I think let's conclude this matter. Governor, you have listened to us, and you have seen where our problem is. Our problem is on your prescription. Our problem is your diagnosis and your prescription. You are prescribing painkillers to cancer. So I want you to go on record on what you have done and what you're going to do to resolve the historical data integrity issues and to ensure that IFMIS is used on day-to-day transactions, despite the many problems that you might have alluded to. Avoid the problems, go to the solution.
Thank you, Chair. Then let me begin by saying that the report we are dealing with is the 2020-2021. A lot have changed so far. And as the CC Finance has already told you, we have changed a lot of the way we are doing requisition. I don't agree with the Senator of Narok that, things are changed just the way you want. The Control of Budget will not allow you to change things the way you want. And I agree with the Auditor General and the SEC that was...
Governor, I gave you the platform to talk about the measures you have taken and the measures you are going to undertake.
Okay.
I didn't give you a platform to respond to the Senator for Narok.
Okay. Performance contracting and quarterly report, that is what we are doing right now. And also we are now fully using IFMIS, and it is working at this particular time. But at that particular time, when 2022 and 2020, 2021, it was not working in Narok. But now we are using IFMIS, and it is working for us. I'm not trying to run away from that. And I agree with you. We have a lot of work to do, and we'll continue to train our officers to make sure that they follow the PFM Act as outlined by all the laws in Kenya.
So, Senator, I want to propose, and let me just listen to my proposal.
Because my name was mentioned.
No. That's why I stopped the governor from that trajectory. Let me
separate fact from fiction.
Let me propose, because the second issue is related, so that we can make progress. And Governor, you will desist from direct responses, process everything through the chair, so that we don't have this situation where people have to respond. But Senator Ledama, let me allow you to say what was on your mind.
I will table to this committee facts so that we can separate fact from fiction on how funds have been diverted from payments, where the controller of budget herself has engaged Narok County, and the explanation given by Narok County leaves a lot to be desired, because they requisition money twice using the same cash requisition schedule. So when the governor alleges that fabricating issues that the controller of budget is not allowing you to change, they have held several meetings there and they have committed, and I've got documentation because I'm the senator of Narok. So I'm privy to that information. So I think it's a bit wrong, and I think to be able to separate facts from fiction, I will table to this committee, let the governor table whatever information he has, and then we separate the two.
Thank you, Senator. We shall be guided by you as a senator who exercises an oversight mandate, not just on Narok, but on the 47 county governments. I think when that comes before us, we'll have to put the governor to his defense. The next issue, again, is variances. Auditor General.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We are in paragraph 2. Unsupported adjustments. During the year under review, management continues to revise the financial statements from the original draft financial statements, culminating into the final financial statements. However, the original draft and the final financial statements exhibited a number of items were amended which are at variance with the original financial statement submitted for audit as summarized below. Below there is a description that were the expenditure items, the figures as by the original financial statement submitted on 30th September, then the final amended financial statement figures, then the last column is on variance. However, the adjustments or movements between the sets of financial statements were not supported by journal vouchers and the necessary documentary evidence. Consequently, the accuracy and the completeness of the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2021 could not be confirmed. Chair.
Okay, Governor, your response.
Honorable Chair, the audit process was started before preparation of financial statement was completed, and this necessitated the use of indicative draft financial statement by the auditor as the process of their preparation continued. Amendment to the draft financial statement were made to ensure that the final reports were more accurate, and this was done as the audit process was ongoing. Journal vouchers for the adjustment made to the financial statement were later presented to the auditor for review. And Honorable Chair, when you look at adjustment journal in voucher Appendix 2, you realize that we have done that.
Auditor General, you have looked at that JV and the response. What's your take?
Chair, the JVs were just given as a bulk sum, bulk figures. We were not able to have the individual transactions and how they were moving from one figure to another. So maybe we still request to be given details of individual transactions so that we are able to understand the transfers.
Now, let's address the issue of revision of financial statements during the audit. Now, tell us, what is the accounting practice?
Chair. Chair, one thing is that the accounting period ends on 30th June.
Yes.
They are supposed to clear all the records and pass all the journals in the next 2 weeks after 30th June. Then from there, they are supposed to prepare the financial statements. So by 30th September, that is 3 months after the end of the accounting period, they are supposed to have fully prepared the financial statements and submit them for audit on 30th of September latest. Then from there, we are supposed to pick up the audit, which also takes 3 months between 1st of October and the 31st of December.
Now, what we have here, are they the original financial statements or the amended financial statements? What was tabled in Parliament?
What was tabled in Parliament is the amended financial statements, the final.
So that's the basis of audit?
Yes.
The amended financial statements are as at what date? Because I think there's a county we dealt with where we saw that the amended financial statements were 9 months after the close of the financial year. So we want to see when did they amend these financial statements?
The Chair, the copy that is signed and which was submitted to Parliament was received in the Office of the Auditor General on 6th of April 2022.
6th of
April. 6th of April 2022, and it is there in the second page after the audit report. There's a stamp next to it.
6th of April.
6th of April.
And so, ideally, they should have been prepared on 30th September 2021.
Yes, yes, Chair.
30th September 2021. So you did the audit in April 2022, in April?
No, Chair. The audit started earlier, but as we were doing the audit, I'm not sure when the exact date, but usually the audit starts in around February, January or February. As we were doing the audit, they were still bringing amended copies of the financial statements. So by the end, when we were finishing the audit in April, this is when we received the final copy, or the final amended copy, which was the Auditor General now signed in June.
And so your report is on the amended financial statements.
Yes.
So why are you taking us back to the draft which you did not audit?
You see, when we started the audit, we started with what was submitted. But as we were doing the audit, they were bringing in the amended copies. They say that they discarded the first one, now we have made some amendments, this is the new copy. And as still we go, even after giving the management letter, they give another amended copy. Even after the draft, when we issue them the draft, they brought another amended copy. That's now after the draft. That's when they brought the final copy in April 2022.
So even to go to your table, your row 1 and row 2, the net effect is 0, isn't it? Because it's positive 141 and negative 141.
Yes, it is, but we also need to know what are the basic details. Why are you moving this amount from one vote to another?
Is it a misclassification?
Sometimes it's
because this is a receipt. This is not an expenditure. It's a receipt.
It's a receipt. Sometimes it's
so what's the problem here? Is there a loss of public funds, or this is just a bookkeeping misclassification?
It is
one and two. Because the net effect is 0. So help us understand whether that was a symptom of loss of funds or just a matter of misclassification, because these are donor funds and transfers from other government entities. At the end of the day, it all totals to 829 million, isn't it?
Yes, Chair, that is true. And also what maybe just a correction is those items are both revenue and expenditure. Because there's...
no, I'm talking about the first two.
Oh, the first two is the revenue. But sometimes you find that it can be a case of budget. When you are
Henry, the people of Narok farmers following this conversation, are we dealing with an accounting problem or are we dealing with theft of 141 million?
Accounting.
Let's frame it appropriately so that if it's accounting, we deal with it as an accounting issue. If it's theft, we say it is theft.
This is accounting.
So this is accounting.
Yes.
So it goes back to the competence of the accountants within the establishment. If you go to the third row, on generated receipts, I would be worried if it dropped between the draft and the final. But it has gone up by 6.9 million. If it should have dropped, I would have been very concerned. That would have been indicative of theft. But in this case, it has gone up. It has gone up. Remember, we still have, and I must bring this at this point, that this audit never queried the county on generated receipts of 625. I think this is the only time you have raised an issue on it, and also on the issue of business permits. So, in your view, what is the problem here on the row on the column on county on generated receipts?
The problem here, first, as I said, the overall problem is accounting. When every transaction is taking place, they is supposed to be recorded and then reviewed and then approved for posting. So this is an indication that some of these revenues are sometimes posted to wrong accounts, not the particular accounts.
Senator Sifuna, as a senator for Nairobi, could you make sure there is law and order around Parliament? Okay, honourable members, I just wanted us to understand what the problem here is, but let me allow members to intervene. Senator Maria Moma.
Chair, I see it differently because as much as we say it's a accounting issue of journal entries, there is also a query the auditors highlighted, that is a necessary documentary evidence. What does that mean, auditor? Do you think that you have not received the supporting document on that ground? Because I understand audit, if you first started, you first come to, there is entry meeting with the financial statement which has been submitted 30th of June, and on that ground you do an amendment. The amendments is on journals and on supporting document on the ground. So maybe the auditor can, if it is on journals of supporting documents, or you have not seen the substantive
Clerk, can you direct the Sergeant at Arms to make sure that that disruption is kept at a minimal? I think it's quite insensitive for them to be doing that while this is proceeding. Senator Mariam, you had concluded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can write on.
Senator Ledama?
Yeah, I think the query that Senator Mariam is asking is similar to the previous query, where documents are not provided for to be able to support the audit query. And I think these are issues which are raised during the management letter, where the auditor is asking, where are these journal vouchers, where are the documentation to support this? Maybe there's no money loss, but where is the documentation? Audit is a process. So if the governor can tell us why these documents are not provided for, it would help us be able to move forward and go to the next query.
Senator Cherokee.
Through you to the governor, Section 62 Public Audit Act is very clear that any given time during audit process, you must provide documentation. Governor, why did it take almost now, you have taken office maybe 1.5 to 2 years, why is this documentation from that financial year under review up to now has not been provided, number one. Number two, AG, you are aware we are proposing to shorten the audit period to 2 months to allow the efficiency and efficacy of doing the audit at that. This issue of this one, you will just make a comment on reduction of time. Finally, Governor, on the third point is when you look at this provision of financial statements and what have you been able yourself or CCM Finance and your people have a sitting with the Office of the Auditor General through entry, exit meeting, management meeting, and be aware and seized of the matter? Especially yourself, I know you can delegate to CCM Finance, but especially yourself, have you had an opportunity of sitting with the Office of the Auditor to understand as the CEO the audit process? Say that, you know, some of these things, Governor, are being brought up during the management letter before the final report is being drafted or being done by the Office of Debt. Those are my three issues, Chair.
Okay, we get Senator Mariam, you still have a query?
Chair, yes.
Okay.
On that table, the last column of other grants and payments, there is a variance of 2.212 million, which the journal is not there, because if you go to Appendix 2, it will not answer that one.
Okay. There are questions to the auditor and questions to the county. Auditor General.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Before the director comes in to make his final comments, I want to make a comment on what our Honorable Senator had said. Mariam. Yes, Chair, these are adjustments which were done by management, and these adjustments will be done on several levels. One, when we raise what we call audit queries, the client will rush to make adjustments to the financial statements. After the exit meeting, and that is after the audit is completed, the client will want to make adjustments when they are responding to what we call a management letter. A management letter is a document that we write to the client documenting all the issues that we have come across during the audit. And finally, the client also has an opportunity to make adjustments to the financial statement once they are responding to the proposed draft report. But Chair, here we are dealing with the cash accounting. And if you can remember, when we were dealing with the county of Nandi, what came out clearly is that when you are doing adjustments, you are adjusting the financial statement. Those adjustments must represent movement of cash, unlike when you are doing accrual. So it becomes very difficult for the management to make adjustments, and that is why most of these adjustments are not supported. Because, one, any adjustment that you do through making journals must be supported by evidence. And this is what is lacking, and this is what has not been given to the auditor. So that's the comment I wanted to make before the director makes his final comment. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, let me write on that.
Senator Mariam.
Is it, auditor, is it now, let's talk of, is it accounting issue or there is misuse of misappropriation of money here?
Chair, to answer the Honorable Senator, it may go beyond the accounting issue, because if you are making adjustments which are not supported, and we are talking about cash accounting, any adjustments is supposed to present movement of cash. So it goes beyond just an accounting issue. Thank you, Chair.
Governor? Henry, do you want to say something?
I wanted to say something. Senator had asked on the basis of reducing the reporting period from 3 months to 2 months. That will be good for audit, so that we are able to meet the deadlines. Because the accountants are there or working in the entity for the whole year. They are given 3 months to prepare the financial statements, which is one statement for an entity. But the auditors, we audit around 2,000 entities, and we are only given 2 months, that's October, November, and December, to report. I think giving us an extra 1 month will enable us to meet the deadlines.
Governor?
Chair, the senator from Nandi was asking whether we normally get a chance to sit down with the Auditor General. Indeed, we have had a chance to sit down before they started this last year 2022-2023 audit. So we had a chance to go through and really reflecting on what has been happening before we came in. And I can tell you that you'll see that going forward, things will be different because we have learned a lot. And now personally I've taken initiative just to kind of understand what is it that they are lacking. But sometimes you give your CC Finance or your CEOs to go through this document, but I have made it an habit that before they finalize, at least I see what exactly have they presented to the auditor, so that should the auditors have a query, then I can be able to intervene at that particular time. Let me give the CS to answer the last part that through the chair, sir. Through the chair.
Honorable Chair. Just on a point of order, Chair, where is the County Secretary answering? These are matters finance. You have your CC financier. So if any question, they should be answered by the CC Finance. Chair, I object to that.
Chair, and coincidentally, the CCM Finance was silent throughout the last time, and we were discussing responsibilities on accounting officer. County Secretary is not an accounting officer. The accounting officer is CCM Finance.
We'll give directions that when it comes to issues of fiduciary responsibility,
yes,
the persons who bear fiduciary responsibility in this case, the CC Finance, the Chief Officer Finance, the Directors of Accounting, Head of Treasury, etc., and the Chief Executive Officer. The mandate of the County Secretary is well spelled out. He's a head of the County Public Service, and if we've got issues to do with legal compliance, HR, County Public Service, compensation of employees, I think he will come in. So I don't think that it's a question that is beyond the ability of the CC Finance to respond to.
And actually, Chair,
Most of Chair, let the CC Finance answer that question.
Actually, even the County Secretary should not handle issues to do with the legal compliance. They should be having the county attorney with them.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So, CC Finance?
Chairman, thank you. Let me answer the last part. The issue in question here, Chairman, is the issue of documentation, which were the journal vouchers, which we had given to the auditor for review, and on this matter. And I believe that if the committee wants it to be tabled, we can still be able to do that for purposes of clarity.
The county executive has not addressed the issue raised by the Auditor General here. Again, just like in the first issue, you have given a story. Governor, let me demonstrate to you. Look at that row on other grants and payments. Other grants and payments. What is the variance there? 212 million.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What you ought to tell the Senate that the increase of 212 million is attributed to XYZ. You don't just tell us stories about JVs. And I've taken the trouble to go to your notes under other grants and payments. I'm seeing an entry of RMLF of 212 million. 248,476. If a fisherman from Homa Bay can see that, why can't the governor of Narok and the accounting officers from Narok tell the Senate that that variance of 212 million is a result of RMLF? Or that's what we expect, not just a story and a one-page journal. And I think, Governor, maybe this could be the first time you're interacting with this committee, but that is a level of diligence that we expect in terms of response. Because these members, these guys, they read whatever is brought here. Now, Auditor General, really, even if you raise this, and I don't get back to the conversation we had earlier, this audit measured on minors. This audit measured on minors, because this particular matter, the way it has been raised, even me looking at the financial statements, I can see where the justification lies. This audit, you guys decided to focus on minor issues and not the substantive issues. But it does not take away the responsibility of the county executive from responding. And your response, really, Governor, you should have responded row by row and say that the 141 million on donor funds released through Exchequer Pakara perhaps was a misclassification of an item. And I think the Auditor General would have been satisfied with that. Patrick, am I saying, am I making sense? Is that what is expected?
Chair, you have put it correctly, and if I can add one word. The response by CEC Finance, he has said he has given the auditors the general vouchers. Maybe he can demonstrate on this document before Senate where those vouchers are so that because we don't have them also.
Yeah, because, so now tell us CEC, your first row, can you explain that variance of 141 million without telling us there is a JV?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, what is it attributable to?
The 141 variance is actually the Kenya Devolution Support Program money.
Where is that in your management response?
That we had taken to transfer from other government entities.
Where do we see it, in the JV or in the evidence that you have brought to the Senate?
You see it?
Chair. Is it there?
You see it?
That is the explanation the Auditor General required before you coming to the Senate. We would have already ticked off this matter and proceeded.
Chair.
Senator Onyonka.
Governor Ntutu, you know we highly respect you. I'm actually completely heartbroken. Your team doesn't have the capacity to help you. That is the conclusion I've reached. I can't have an explanation why you are asked to provide documentation on money that is even donor funded, and your people are not able to give these gentlemen documents. What, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do I do? How do I help your team? It's you know, these are the things that make us look at devolution and what governors are doing, and we know most of you are busy, but I can tell you, this guy is not helping you. All these people are not helping you.
Chair, just to write chair on what Senator Onyonka, even on donor-funded governor, the PMF allows you to have a special purpose account. So to account for it is very easy because it is well structured. And I saw the other day in State House you are receiving more than 46 billion to support through the World Bank donated funds. So because since you have a special purpose, unless you are saying on these donor grants and others that were given to Narok County government, that were given through the county government did not have a special purpose account, because every donor funded or money that is given through World Bank through the projects must have a special purpose account. And I think Nandi at some point in the last financial year, chair, the year under review, there were issues where they had taken money that were brought by World Bank to fixed account, then they earn interest. So unless now the reason maybe, Governor, you don't want to give documents to AAG is because the money was put in fixed account to generate interest who no one knows. It becomes easy unless the CCM Finance can tell us whether the initial of this donor funded, it was in special purpose account, so that we are sure it was not put in a fixed account to generate interest where that interest cannot be accounted for. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and just as a response to that, the reason I'm frustrated is that these matters have come all the way to Nairobi as audit queries, and you go through the financial statements, you realize that the solutions are there. So it's either a failure of the persons who are custodians of public funds then, or a problem with the manner in which the OAG approached this. Because CC, what we expect is what you have said orally is what should have been written here, not telling the governor to read a journal voucher. The first row you have said is KDSP, And you can clearly see it has affected the second row. So it was misclassification of KDSP, isn't it? If you go to the third, fourth, the fifth row, the 212 million road maintenance levy fund. So why can't you just explain that instead of confusing us with journal vouchers? Governor, next time you're appearing before this Senate, please ask questions with regards to these responses before they come here. And ensure your team sits with the Office of the Auditor General before they come here. Because the next issue relates to the 212 million, the one for RMLF. So I want to request members to go to issue number 3 and see how that matter was dealt with. Auditor General, read your finding.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph number 3, unsupported road maintenance levy fund. The statement of receipts and payments reflect an amount of 354,093,123 in respect of transfers from other government entities, which, as disclosed in Note 3 to the financial statements, include an amount of 212,200,000. However, the cash book and the bank statement presented for audit reflected a balance of 170,221,832, leading to a reconciled variance of 42,026,644. Further, review of the record revealed that during the year under review, an amount of 231,702,137 was paid to road contractors, but the expenditure has not been disclosed in the financial statements. In the circumstances, the completeness and accuracy of the road maintenance levy fund receipts of Kenya shillings 212,248,476 and the expenditure of 231,702,137 for the year ended 30th June 2021 could not be confirmed. Chair.
Governor, your response?
Honorable road maintenance levy funds of Kenya shilling 1 for the Kenya shilling 56, 124, 238 and 25 cents and 156, 124, 238, 25 cents respectively. The same was disclosed as transfer to the county government in Note 3 to the financial settlement, and to the SPA in Note 15, that is the special purpose account. However, there was disbursement of 114,097,594 relating to the previous year, which is 2019-2020, which was received in July 2020. The transfer of 170,221,832, which the auditor is highlighting, was a combination of 114,097,594 and 56,124,238 and 25 cents,